Hey, it's James. Welcome back to the channel. So glad you are here. Want to talk about something I learned from the book Against Calvinism by Roger Olson. Roger Olson's one of my favorite authors. He's written several really good books. I highly recommend him. He wrote one book called How to Be an Evangelical Without Being a Conservative, which was very thought provoking. I'll just say that. Um, I listen to audiobooks a lot, so I had to go back and look at what the passages that he shared on. Uh, in this section, he shared on two verses that Calvinists use a lot to justify the idea of irresistible grace. So John 6:44, if I can scroll down to, now I've heard Dr. James R. White use this. I've heard R.C. Sproul use this. I've um, I've heard John MacArthur use this verse. Sorry. So John 6:44 says, "No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up on the last day." So the key word there is the word draws. John 6:65 said, and he said, "This is why I told you no one can come to me unless it is granted to him by the Father." For some reason I'm in the ESV. I don't know why, but I am. So if we look at the Strong's Concordance, John 6:44, I'll tap on the word draw. It's G1670 helkuo, or helko. So now in the book, Roger Olson quotes a guy named Steve Witzke, who wrote a paper back in 2003 called The Drawings of God. And he's saying that the same word is in John 12:32. Since I have my Strongs out, yes, that's exactly the same word that's in John 12:32. Now, why is that so important? Well, since I used the ESV earlier, I'll use the ESV again. John 12:32. What does it say? It says, "And I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." Okay, wait a minute. Time out. If they're right, and this word always means compels, go back to John 6:44. That's what Piper believes it means. That's what Dr. White says it means. That's what John MacArthur says it means. Go to John 6:44. "No one can come to me unless the Father who sends me draws him, and I will raise him up on the last day." So if this is a compelling, if this is something that you can't resist, then John 12, if I go back to John 12:32, "And when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself." So if you believe their interpretation when it comes to John 6:44 and John 6:65, and that applies also to, because it's the same Greek word, if you apply that to John 12:32, you'd have to be a universalist. Now, I found another article by that mentions Steve Witzke. This is in the Armenian Perspectives. This article was published on July 30th, 2007. And this is Steve Witzke, a contributor for the Armenian magazine, looked into Sproul's lexicographical claims and came up with some surprising results. He writes, "After investigating Big Kittle's definition for myself, I was surprised to find that it did not agree with Sproul's definition to draw. Albert Opke comments that in John's usage of helkuo, force or magic may be discounted, but not the supernatural element. Yet for Sproul's definition to hold up, John's usage must mean to compel or force. When I turned to find out what Kittle, the one-volume abridged edition of Kittle's massive 10-volume work, had to say on draw, I was shocked at what it had to say in comparison to Sproul's dogmatic assertions. Here's the entire comment as translated and abridged by Jeffrey Bromley. The basic meaning is to draw, tug, or in the case of persons, compel. It may be used to draw a place by magic, for demons being drawn to an animal, life, or the inner influencing of the will. The Semitic word has the concept of an irresistible drawing to God. In the Old Testament, Helkian denotes a powerful impulse, as in, I don't know what verse that is. It can't 1:4, which is obscure but expresses the force of love. This is the point in the two important passages in John 6:44 and 12:32. There is no thought here of force or magic. The term figuratively expresses the supernatural power of the love of God or Christ, which goes out to all, 12:32, but without which no one can come, 6:44. The apparent contradiction shows that both the election and the universality of grace must be taken seriously. The compulsion is not automatic. So, sorry to all you wonderful Calvinists out there, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. I've met lots of good Calvinists out there over the years that are good people, but it's not an automatic. It's not an irresistible grace. That's not what the word means. If I go back to Strong's Concordance, and I look up that word, helkuo, it says to draw or drag off. But the other definition given is to draw by inward power, lead or impel. To draw. That's why it's translated draw. It's not something that can't be resisted. So there's lots of good people out there that teach things, but if you dig a little deeper, you'll find out that what they're teaching isn't right. So the idea of irresistible grace is not a biblical concept, and it is what it is. Now, in this article, it talks about the fact that it is the love of God that is drawing them to Him. And that is the prevenient grace of God. It is the prevenient grace of God that draws us to Him. 1 John 4. I'm going to switch over to the New King James. Beloved, 1 John 4, starting in verse 7. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. In this the love of God was manifested towards us, that God has sent His only begotten Son into the world that we might live through Him. Emphasis on the word might. And this is love, not that we love God, but that He loved us and sent His Son to be the propitiation for our sins. So it says there that in verse 9 that we might live through Him. Because some people will accept the love of God in their lives and some people will reject it. So, anyway, I hope that was edifying. If you're new to the channel, please hit like and subscribe. I want to thank you for watching. Just understand, I love and care about all people, Calvinists, Arminians, Wesleyans. Doesn't matter if you're Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Pentecostal. I love all Christians, but we want to make sure that what we're teaching on this channel is correct. And there's a reason why I no longer believe in the tulip. And that clearly demonstrates that the I in tulip is not true. So, thank you for watching. I love you guys, especially my subscribers. I hope you have a great day.